Okay, we're talking with writer producer Chris Scott. What's left is the short film. It is 30 minutes long, and it's about a former chef turned dishwasher trying and raising his son. A lot going on in this film. Is this like a proof of concept? Is there a bigger feature film here? I kind of wanted more.
Well, so I'm hoping that this is the first of several. And I wanted to really start writing stories, short stories about because whenever you would look at any type of food film, it's either
Yeah,
chef focused or ingredient focused. It doesn't really, give any light or shine any light to the 1001 stories that are existing within the workers, the employees, some of the marginalized stories that never really get told per se, you know. Um, so this one is the first of several. And yes, it is about a former chef, who's now older, who needs to keep working because he has a special needs son,
yeah.
and no one really knows his past, that he was a chef, that he could do the work, because just like in the industry, a lot of people don't really show a lot of love to older kitchen workers, and so all of that sort of exists in it. The ageism, some of the racism, all of that,
Yeah. Well, you feel it in the script for sure, right? All
yeah.
those two elements, especially. Let me ask you something before we get into this. Is that because like if correct me if I'm wrong, but chefs are like now they're kind of there's a celebrity kind of version of them in the last like 20 years, but that
Hmm.
wasn't the case before, right? So now their
No.
pay has gone up considerably. They have agents now. They have, but back then the chefs weren't making that much money back in like even like pre 90s, I guess. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, I started cooking professionally, or I started making my way into kitchens probably like in 1988, you know.
Okay.
And back then, if you got a blurb in a magazine or in a newspaper, that was big stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But there was no social media. There wasn't really that much TV, minus, a little bit of stuff on PBS, but those were more or less stand-in stirs, you know. Um, I think it wasn't really until the Food Network and Ready Set Cook came on, and then like all this competition stuff started, and then yeah, chefs became sort of like rock stars.
Yeah, well, you see like Guy Fieri, and then you have what's his name, Bobby Flay, and you have
Yeah,
like these are just top of my mind, right? Obviously,
right, right.
that gentleman who yells at his workers, and I can't
Gordon
remember his name.
Ramsay, yeah.
Gordon Ramsay, right? He found his niche, right? So
Yeah,
basically,
for sure.
yeah, and they're like they got restaurants all over the place, and
A lot of them do. A lot of
yeah,
them do. Like Guy Fieri probably has at least a good 10.
yeah.
He's a silent investor in a lot of places as well. So he pretty much will invest, and kind of keeps himself quiet in the back.
Like in his shows, right, where he goes like, what is it, diners, drive-ins, and
Yeah,
dives, where
yeah,
goes to these restaurants, and you kind of wonder how much stake that he has in them, I guess, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it makes you want to go. Like I remember we went there was in Canada, we watched one of those. My wife and I were watching one of those shows,
Mhm.
and it was like a repeat, and it was like, oh, we should go to that restaurant, and we went to that restaurant that night, and it
Yeah,
was packed.
of
And they
course.
said to me, it's like as soon as it's on TV, everybody wants to go there, right? So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's sort of like the Midas touch. You go there, he talks it up,
yeah,
for good, 3 months. They're busy every single night. And that's really your time to prove yourself, like he kind of gets it in the air, and now the
yeah.
work is on you, to make it happen or not.
All right, so let's talk about your film. So is this like the first? You said this is like a first of a series you want to do about like kind of like the
Yeah, I want
workforce,
to
the
I want to
restaurant
be able to
workforce?
tell like the untold stories, because there's so much drama happening in kitchens all the time. It's deeper than what you see on The Bear, you know.
I just watched the final season yesterday. Funny
Yeah,
enough.
I haven't watched it yet, because I feel that I live it,
Yeah.
so
Well, what's your interpretation of that?
You know,
Like, what's your
it
impression?
it's I think that from what I'm hearing, it's pretty accurate, you know.
Oh, so you haven't watched any of it? I just thought you maybe didn't watch the last season.
No, I haven't watched
Sure.
not 1 minute of season one or
Oh,
anything. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. But it's funny because it came out like right around when COVID started.
yeah,
And when COVID started, there were a lot of these restaurant publications, restaurants, and everything that really wanted to sort of change their ways. They wanted to pay employees better. They wanted to treat them better. They wanted to do all of these things. They wanted more representation of what restaurants really are, you
yeah.
know. But then here comes the bear, screaming and hollering and showing you what it's really like, and everyone's all of a sudden in love with it. So it's like the double-edged sword, like, no, we must fix it, but we really love what's going on too. Like, make up your mind. But
They
some
like the
of these,
trauma. They like the conflict of like this dysfunctional kind of environment, right? So
right, exactly. So a lot of these stories, and this one in particular with what's left, again, is one in 1,000 stories that go on. I mean, I'm sure that if you're ever in a kitchen and you see that old guy working the line, or in the prep room, your first thought is, why is he still working? You
yeah.
know, but a lot of people don't really ever approach that individual, get to really know the story, get to really know why, in fact, he's still there.
Well, my first job ever, I think I was 13 in Niagara Falls, and I was a dishwasher at a Golden
Mm-hmm.
Griddle,
Yeah,
and it's a shit job,
yeah,
or it's a crappy job. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's a grind. It's like I felt it at 13.
of
You know,
course.
like after the shift, after an 8 hour shift. So I can't imagine being this gentleman in the
Right.
film, like what he's feeling after a shift, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly. So here's Blake, the individual in the movie who's probably in his early 60s, a
yeah,
former executive chef, former, Michelin, level chef who had his own spot probably, 20 years ago, was at the top of his game, lost his wife, raised his special needs son and is still doing it. And because that requires, a certain lifestyle and a certain, tax bracket, he has no choice but to continue to work.
and this is all he knows, right? He just know all he knows is the restaurant business, right?
Exactly. That's all he knows. That's all he
Yeah,
knows. And to even try to get a job, even as a line cook, no one really takes you seriously. You're like, who's this old man trying to work on the line? No, get out of here. You know. So you take the path of least resistance, and you are a dishwasher or a receiver. You know, and that's Blake's story. It's all in the day in the life, of this guy.
and he's got like this like guy, this kid in his 20s, like being his boss, and like that's just yeah,
Exactly.
you feel it
Yeah.
in the movie, right? Like
Yeah.
this,
I always call that individual, it's the Hollywood syndrome, because every young cook, when he's starting to feel himself, kind of really starts thinking that his shit doesn't stink, you know, and will begin to, flex on anybody, especially, the person on the lowest rung in the kitchen, as you see
yeah.
that he was screaming at Jade, and he's screaming at Blake, and really trying to, spray himself all over the place.
So you got so you wrote the script, and then you had Odinger. I hope I said his name right. Odinger Mitchell was the
Mm-hmm.
director. So how did
Yeah.
this film all come together for you? Did you like you kind of wrote it, you wanted to produce it, you wanted to find a
Yeah.
director, you met him? Like what was the process?
So Mitch and I have been friends for, my goodness, at least 10, 12 years.
Okay.
And he started off as a photographer and started working his way up into film. And long ago, I said, hey, I have an idea for a film. So this film has been living in my spirit for, more than a decade. And at the time, Mitch didn't really have the time. He didn't really have the equipment or the contacts to really do a film of this level. And then we touched base again throughout the years, and Sometimes he was free and I wasn't, and vice versa. And then one day he said, "Hey, you still got that idea for the film?" And I said, "Absolutely." And then we did it. And the funny thing is that, being a chef, pretty much, I can come to your house tonight with a whole pig and butcher it and cut it up and marinate it and feed you today.
Yeah.
You know, I had no idea that the whole film process takes, you know, almost a year, from the planning to gathering your team to rehearsals to permits to all of that. It takes almost a year because we started talking about it in 2024,
Yeah.
and then we started filming it in October of 2025. We did the whole shoot in 4 days, you
And then you
know,
got to then you have to mention editing, then post
and
production,
then that
sound
part.
design. Yeah.
And then that part, exactly.
And now
And
distribution, you're talking to me now. It's like this the stages, right? So
yeah, man, it's crazy. And like in the beginning, all I really wanted to do was because I consider myself, you know, someone who's deep into the arts. Like
yeah.
I have a book that was nominated for a James Beard Award. I've been a chef for over 30 something years. Like the arts are really where I live and where I'm really able to, have that as my platform, So in the end, I just wanted to kind of have the film, and have it done and have that be a piece of something that I could share with the world, But the fact that it's doing so well, in festivals and everything, it's mind blowing because I never ever thought that this would happen.
Well, making a film is like making a dish, right? Like you
Mm.
got it's development. You got to figure out what you're gonna make. You kind of like come up with a recipe, and then pre-production is the ingredients, putting everything, the team together, putting everything together, and then
Yeah,
production is the actual cooking itself, right?
yeah,
And then post production is like kind of displaying it, making sure it looks good, the presentation, and then
right.
distribution is obviously the eating of the food, right? But it's the
Yeah,
same thing with consuming the like it's the same stages as a film,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
just a different. It's like obviously a shorter process and
Of
usually all
course.
done in one day, I guess, right? But
Right, right. I mean, there were moments, man, when especially in the bodega scene
yeah.
where I'm on set and it's happening, in front of me, and and I think I actually started to tear up, like actually seeing it happen right in front of me, like these are the moments that long ago I would just dream about. And now it's happening in words that I wrote, watching actors perform it, right there in front of you. It's was a very and still is a very surreal kind of thing. And
So it's almost like this was kind of your film school as well, right? You kind of learned
yeah,
all like how to make a film, right?
right. I mean, I am clearly not formally trained at all, but I do have some grand ideas, and I know some people, that do know the work, and they always say it's who you know, you know.
Yeah. And then as soon as you know that, you better have something on the table, like in talent as well.
Of course, of course, of
Yeah, yeah.
course.
It's like
Some
it's
of
opening
my
the door.
investor friends, so we did an Indiegogo to raise money for the film.
Yeah.
And then a colleague of mine, Janet Tamargo, came in with some big dollars, and a surgeon friend of mine out in Long Island, put in some big money, and I would cook for people, for parties of 6, parties of 10 in your home, and to raise money like that. And it was great. And Jana actually knew a guy because she does film work as well, and this guy, like, he really put together the film in post, which was fantastic, and it's great. It's been awesome so far.
So tell me about the actor. He's so key to your film. Like it's Paul Brown is his name, right?
Yeah,
Like you need to have this guy. Like he nails the film, but it's a
yeah,
sort of
yeah,
casting that you want. Where'd you find
yeah.
him?
So we interviewed a few Blakes, previous to this, but a lot of them were either too young, you know,
Yeah.
like they were very good actors, but they were either too young or didn't really gel with the boy, you know. And so I invited the boy and Paul to my home in New Jersey, you know, and there was one day that we just kind of sat together and I cooked eggs for Paul, you know, and I kind of taught him how to cook something as well, just in case he might have needed to do something on set, you know. And we butchered a fish together, and you know, like really just showing him some basics
Yeah.
in the kitchen, you know. Um, the other actor got to meet my son, who's also on the spectrum, you know. So they sat together, they played chess, you know. They met my dogs, they met my wife, you know. Um, so we basically spent a full on day together and just kind of like really got to know each other and dug deep into the characters.
You mentioned that your son is also on the spectrum, so this is kind of almost a personal story for you too, I guess,
A
right?
little
Like,
bit,
yeah,
a little bit. It's almost like what if, you know, what if 20, 30 years from now, like I am Blake,
yeah.
you know?
Well, yeah. Well, I guess it could happen, right? Because you've seen it. Was there somebody? Was there a person that you know personally that was like this gentleman in the film?
No, I mean, back in my 20s, I used to work in kitchens back in Philadelphia, and there
Yeah,
would be older individuals that worked in the kitchens. But again, like I would never really question it. I would always think, dude, you should be fishing. You should be hanging out with your grandkids. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. It never really dawned on me that perhaps they needed to continue to work for whatever reason, you know? Like I
yeah.
never really thought about it back then.
And so, where did you up the kitchen scenes, especially like where did you film that?
So
It's
there's
very
a
real.
restaurant in Jersey City that I was doing some consulting work for, and the place is called the Horseshoe, and the owner and
Okay.
I are still very, very great friends. So we did that, and those tapings were the last two nights, and we started at midnight, and we ended at like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, which for me is crazy because I'm usually up by, you know, 5, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work. So I'm leaving set, you know, and going directly to work right after that. So it was some crazy times.
Because you had to shoot there. Because I'm assuming because they're working during the day, right?
Right. Yeah,
They're
yeah.
yeah,
So we would film and
yeah,
then finish up at 6 and kind of get everything back to normal for them. I'd go off into the city. They would unlock the door.
yeah.
Yeah.
And well, it's great that they let you shoot there. It's like it's very authentic, and they had the way you shot it was like all handheld. You're kind of it's like almost claustrophobic in a way. You're in this kind of
Yeah.
environment, and
Yep.
it's almost like documentary style in a sense. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the last half of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very good, you know, and then we kind of got the trying to kind of getting to know, you know, more of the actors and how they exist, you know, and picking them up from the train station, dropping them off, you know, in Jersey, and it was a wild time.
Yeah, and then yeah, obviously he kind of like in the script he kind of saves the day, I guess, right?
Yeah, you know what it is that he's still trying to find himself, you know. I guess it takes a lot to not be the man that you used to be,
Yeah,
you know, and here you are, you know, as the dishwasher and accepting of it, you know, but there's still pieces of you that wants to inspire. There's still pieces of you that understands what it's like to be, you know, a young cook, you know, because this guy, Blake, used to mentor chefs and, you know, and help them along in their career, you know, and even though he's contemplating kind of getting back into that or entertaining the thought a little bit, you know, on this day, he just had that opportunity to kind of work with Jade. and just try to keep her head in the game and level, and just, that this was just one situation of several, that people deal with in kitchen life. Sometimes you get yelled at. Sometimes you really want to, not work there anymore. Sometimes it's a shit show, but the next day is totally different. But it's just like he said, you got to stay in places that support your growth, you know. And even though that place may not have been that place for Jade per se, he was the reminder, he was the inspiration, he was that glimmer of hope that there are still people in the industry that care, you know, and that really know how to, push you along. And even though this might not be the place for you, but a reminder that there are places that do exist where you can go there and they can support your growth, and you can, in fact, reach your goals and become the chef that you want to be, just not here.
Gotcha. Do you still work in kitchens? Do you still work at a restaurant?
Yeah, yeah. I do some consulting work right now, and freelance from time to time. You know, I'm not, as deep into it as I used to be, but I'm still very, very involved, and at this point in this chapter of my life, it's really all about giving back and inspiring, and, meeting people where they stand, helping them along, kind of showing them, a little bit more than just cooking, but cooking too, showing them the elements of saute and braise and roast, and, the fundamentals of it, but more so, the reasons why it is that we do what we do. What brings us to the table? What is it about food that is the connective? You come for the food, but you stay for the stories.
Come for the food, stay for the stories. Yeah, well, there's different. You're talking about 1,001 stories, right? There's 1,001
Exactly.
stories of people, what brought people to that restaurant, right?
Right.
Anniversaries, first dates,
Yeah.
etc. Right?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
connections.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, because sometimes as a guest, you will be eating a dish that will be incredible and it'll look incredible. But little do you know that the person who made it is struggling,
Yeah,
either with like alcoholism, or, some type of self-respect thing, or drug abuse, or something is happening in their life or in their family, because there are stories that are like that everywhere in kitchens. Kitchens are very, um, they always say that kitchens are filled with misfits, but we are a lovely band of misfits, but we come with our baggage too.
you could say the same thing about film crews, the film industry. A lot of misfits, a lot of drugs, a lot of like because you're working long hours, right? And
Yeah,
you kind of you lose a lot because when you're doing these long hours, you lose a lot of your family, you lose a lot of your time, right?
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that all of that happens. You have to really love it,
yeah.
to stay with it. True story is that my mother passed away like 24 years ago, and I went to the funeral but did not stay for the wake because I felt like I needed to get back to work. And to this very day, I have aunts that won't even speak to me, because of it. Like you feel so connected or whatever to the job without
Yeah,
really
but you're
realizing.
probably dealing with your grief. You're on your own way too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's it's something else. The struggles, the internal struggles that a lot of chefs deal with and go through. You know,
Not to mention it's a very stressful industry as well, right? Like restaurants tend not to succeed a lot of the time, right?
right.
So
And if you're an owner and you just, put in your entire life savings,
yeah,
now you got that on top of it. The one thing that a lot of chefs have in common is that they have a lot of shared trauma, you know,
yeah,
because like you said, there's a lot of drug abuse and alcohol abuse. And then you have a guy like the chef in the movie who does nothing but scream at you all day. So after the shift, a lot of these cooks have this shared trauma, and they go out there to the bar or to the club or wherever they go, and they get shit faced, and it's just an ongoing cycle over and over and over again every day, you know,
Yeah.
because really in the end, we're all we have, you know.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. So what's the next story then? What's the next story going to be?
The next story is about a Latin chef, and he's coming up in the industry, and a lot of it is like sort of a lot of the drama that he's dealing with as he's coming up through the ranks. And there are young cooks that he's inspired, but he's trying to like groom them the right way so that they're not necessarily like him, you know. Like he's not really ashamed of how he came up, but he wants it to be different, you
Gotcha.
know. I don't want to give away too much, but that's
No, no,
sort
no,
of
but you're going to keep, you got, how many have you written so far? Like of these stories?
well, what's left is the first one to take it all the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I probably have written about three.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so that, and then it's like, these are, yeah. And then you kind of make an anthology series in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah. You're already thinking ahead. Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. I think you should watch, you probably should, for research sake, you should watch The Bear. Some only because you might like sometimes we do this happens a lot where like you have a story then it but then it's also it already happened in another show, right? You
Right,
don't
right, right.
you're
Yeah.
not stealing any from anybody, but you just don't know, right? Because you haven't watched it, right? So
I mean, I would assume that after what, 3 seasons that it's been
five
on?
seasons, five
Yeah,
seasons.
exactly. 5 seasons that they probably touch base on a lot of things,
Yeah,
from the
that's what
owner's
I mean.
point of
So maybe
view.
you should watch it just for research sake.
I'm telling you, I live it every day.
No, no, I get it. It's sort of like I get it because it's like when you work in an industry, it's never like they dramatize things. It's like it's never like realistic, right? We just did a script reading, and we had a lawyer. A lawyer wrote a script, and he's like, I can't stand these lawyer shows because they're so unrealistic, right? So I'm
Mm,
like, well,
hmm.
it's like you. It's like any job, right? Like they're
Yeah.
going to dramatize things, right? So
Right, 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 right. I mean, the
there's
one
one
thing
thing
about the
in your
bear,
film.
though,
I was going
is
to say the
that,
one thing in your film. There's probably more people in the kitchen than you have in your film, right?
yeah, yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, the one thing about the bear is that it's very stereotypical of like, especially with the chef. Like here you have like this pretty boy, tattooed up, and
Yeah.
it's like that in some places, but it's
Yeah.
also not like that in a
Gotcha.
lot of places too.
He's a super genius and like, yeah. Anyways, yeah, I get it.
Exactly.
But he's also messed up too, right? He's also
Yeah.
fucked up,
Hey
right?
man, we all are.
Yeah. So before I leave, I gotta ask you about your shirts. I just saw a little bit. Was it Stevie Nicks?
Yeah,
So that's like the Knicks, like, but a take on the singer, but it's you're a Knicks fan, or
right. So Taylor Swift wore this at the game,
oh, okay.
and then after that, then
How
like
did she
people.
become a Knicks fan? Like, isn't she from
I
like
don't think she
Tennessee?
is. Dude, I thought she grew up outside of Philly,
She, oh, I thought she grew
and
up in
her
Tennessee. Yeah,
husband
okay.
grew up in Cleveland.
All right. Yeah. So what are they Knicks fans for? They're like, yeah, like they're jumping
Bandwagon
on the
fans, I
bandwagon
guess.
or what?
Just a bunch of stars hanging out courtside.
Who's that other guy? That other young Timothy Chalamet. He's always at the game, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Seinfeld and Larry David. They've been like watching it for decades, right? I
But
get
they're
they're
from here.
no,
They're
but they
from
also
here.
have been traumatized by like the Knicks of the last 50 years. Then
Oh
with all these
yeah.
celebrities jumping in on the bandwagon,
When I
right?
moved to New York in '05, they were at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
So I mean, originally from Philly, so I'll always be a Sixers
Oh,
fan,
okay. You can't be
but
both fans of both teams. That's doesn't work
no,
that
I can't be a fan of both. But having
way.
lived here for so long in New York,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm happy to see the Knicks get their due.
Okay. No, I
Yeah,
get it. It's like I was. I think everybody was kind of rude. It was kind of funny that the New York team was the underdog, right? It was
right.
like it was fun watching. Like when has
Yeah,
the New York team has ever been the underdog, right? So
yeah, right, right. I mean, but if you thought that this win was special, wait till the Jets win. if they ever
They're
win.
never going to win. Listen. I'm a diehard Bills fan. We beat them up every year, right? So, but
Right on.
it's no. I shouldn't say that because they probably will, but they just have to. Their owner has to die, or they have to get rid of the owner. That owner is so dysfunctional.
Right.
He's messes up that whole team, right?
Well,
So
you got a new coach, so we'll see how that goes.
they get a new coach every year, right? So it's like it doesn't matter. As a person who works in a restaurant, it starts at the top, right?
Yeah,
If you don't have a good owner, then you're going to have a shit restaurant, right?
that's for sure. That's the
Yeah.
truth.
Same thing happens in the athletics, right? Especially in football. You gotta like this guy. It's good for a Bills fan. So
Yeah,
basically, to wrap it up, so the 76ers got LeBron now, right?
right.
They made that Boston trade. Looks like they're ready. Was it
I
since
wouldn't say
'84?
that. I wouldn't say that. I mean, you got a lot of old has-beens on the Sixers now
Yeah, I
with
get
a
it.
very young Knicks team and a very young Celtics team in their division, you know. So I don't know. And the Knicks are pretty hot right now. I mean, they just beat up the Spurs,
Yeah,
which
they
no
got
one thought that they were going to do it like
no.
that.
Nobody thought that. It's
Right,
then again, but
right.
I almost thought it was like that's their year, and we'll see them 50 years later, right? So
Exactly. So if the Sixers can get past two young teams,
yeah.
which ain't gonna happen, then we will see.
Then we got the Greek in Miami. Then you got Kawhi going back to Toronto, right? So,
Right. Come on, man. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of work.
but it's funny that he chose that team, right?
If anything, LeBron going to Philly is good for ticket sales.
Yeah. No, it's interesting that he chose like that wasn't the team I thought he was gonna. I think he was gonna choose
Me
Cleveland or
neither.
Miami, right? So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all
All
right,
right.
Stevie Nicks, I like it. So you it's Taylor Swift's t-shirt.
Yeah. It's a Swifty.
It's a Swifty. All right, well, jumping on it, right there you go. You didn't go to the wedding, did you?
No, no.
You didn't get invited. I thought maybe you catered it or something. So
Right.
yeah. All right, man. Well, congratulations. Keep in touch. I love to see your next film. I know you're going to make it, and I think this is a great idea. So it's just
Awesome.
a
Thank you,
well
man.
executed film too. Like nice production, nice sound design, nice performances. It's a
Great.
really good film. Great story too. So
Thank you very much.
all
Thank
right,
you.
all right. Let's talk soon.
All right, brother.